Former White House counsel Don McGahn is now a private citizen, but according to a statement released through his lawyer tonight, he's still taking direction from his former boss, saying he, quote, remains obligated to maintain the status quo and respect the president's instruction that McGahn not appear as scheduled in front of the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow. Joining me now, a member of that committee who would be questioning Don McGahn were he to show up tomorrow, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington State. Your reaction to this announced intention on the part of Don McGahn not to come?
Well, I mean, we were waiting for something like this to happen because the White House has been stalling and obstructing every step of the way. It's ongoing obstruction. Don McGahn was ready to come. His letter to us says, you know, I've got these competing things. I'm going to go with the White House. But if you read the OLC opinion that the White House sent in saying that they were exerting essentially immunity across the board for senior presidential advisors to not testify. That was most recently tested in 2007 under George W. Bush with Harriet Miers.
Yep.
And I pulled out the quote, Chris, that the district court judge said. And here's what he said. He said, the executive cannot identify a single judicial opinion that recognizes absolute immunity for senior presidential advisors in this or any other context. That simple yet critical fact has been bears repeating. The asserted absolute immunity claim here is entirely unsupported by existing case law. So in other words, this memo makes no sense. It is obviously a ploy just to continue the obstruction, and it's unfortunate that Don McGahn chose to listen to that. I think we had a lot of good questions for Don McGahn to get onto the table around what he heard, specific instances where he heard the president obstruct justice.
Well, yeah, why is McGahn key from your perspective?
Well, I think he's key because he was actually there, and his chief of staff, Annie Donaldson, her notes are also key, but he was actually there on a number of instances where the president tried to obstruct justice, around the firing of the special counsel, around telling Rod Rosenstein, you know, some of the things he told him. 4 instances where the president tried to get Don McGahn, this was going to be my line of questioning, to actually say that he did not try to fire the special counsel. And one of those was after the Mueller report was released. I mean, one of the things I was thinking about is had Don McGahn come and testified before us, it wouldn't have just been about his role as a senior advisor to the president. It also would have been as a private citizen, because the 4th time the president asked him to deny what was true was when he was a private citizen.
Your colleague on the committee, David Cicilline, says, look, we should move towards the opening of a formal impeachment inquiry in the House, in your committee, should he not show up tomorrow. Do you agree with that?
I said yesterday that that's what I thought as well if Don McGahn did not come to testify before us, because this is now just a pattern of obstruction, ongoing obstruction, stonewalling, destruction of that very basic relationship between our co-equal branches of government. And so I think the only thing that we can do is to start that impeachment inquiry. And I think we have to be very clear with the American people. This doesn't mean the president's going to get impeached tomorrow. It means we start a process of hearings to get more information and to decide what we have in front of us and whether or not it will proceed in formal impeachment proceedings. So I think the American public has to understand this doesn't mean he's going to be gone tomorrow. Right. It means we're starting an inquiry.
Final question on a piece of news that happened before another committee, but I think bears on precisely what you're talking about here in terms of the questions of obstruction. Transcripts of questioning of Michael Cohen under oath before the House Intelligence Committee, in which he asserts that Jay Sekulow, the president's attorney, told him to lie about Trump Tower Moscow. Is that a big deal to your mind?
I think all of these instances where the president tells people to lie, that should be a big deal to everybody.
In this case, I should just be clear. It's the president's attorney right now who is being accused of doing that. We don't know if the president was behind it.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we wanted to get all the underlying information so that we can look at exactly what was said, how it was said. But of course, if this turns out to be true, if there's other evidence that that comes out that shows that the president actually directed Jay Sekulow to do this, then that would be a big problem. I think the reason you asked me earlier about Don McGahn, that's why this is so compelling. Don McGahn directly said the president told him to lie.
Yep.
And he would not do it. And that is huge, I think, and that's information that the American people need to see.
All right, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of the House Judiciary Committee, thank you for making time with me tonight.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.